Semester 1 Final Exam Presentation by Juan Rociles. I'm taking the Engineering Architecture 3 class at Joliet Central High School. This project is all about all the projects I've done in the past semester. Let's begin. My first project, the tungsten holder. Inspiration for my project. Before brainstorming for a project, my brother asked me if I could 3D print a tungsten holder for him. At first, I did not know what that was at all. So after doing some research, I found out it was a little rod that heats up in welding so it can melt the metal, also known as tungsten. Sketching. Once I got an idea how I wanted to design the holder, I started sketching. I also got an idea from a print my brother has given me to design the outside of the holder. There's a little pin to the right. Once I finished my sketch, I moved on to modeling in Inventor. I ran into a few problems on the way. The first problem was how to design the cap, so I had locks in place. I got many different ideas how to do it. Some of them were to make a threaded cap, which is one of the images to the right, and another one was the push and twist cap, which is on the left right here. I chose the push and twist cap because it seemed a little bit more easier, something I can do. But with the first cap, had many errors. In the first cap, it was too tight and couldn't be pulled out, so I had to redesign it to be more loose. But in my second design, it was too loose until my third design, which was a little loose but functional. Now the final process of the inventor. Once I figured out the cap problem, I finished designing the outside of the holder. And I went with the word pipe fitter on one side, and then the company which my brother is working on right now. And the other side, which is a local 597. Now it's time to 3D print. 3D printing. I did not know how to use the bamboo 3D printer, but my classmate Brandon showed me how to use it. First, I had to convert to a file into an STL. Then I had to open up Bamboo Studio and I had to import my file into there. Then I had to add tree support since it needed support from the inside where the cap will go, and so that the print doesn't fail. Then I had to slice the plate, export it to a USB drive, and eject it. After all that, I had to add the shit back to the printer, pick the filament I'm going to use, and make sure I applied glue so it can stick to it, and start to print. And this is the final product. In the video at the bottom is the whole process the printer took, and the image in the video at the top right is the whole assembling it. And this one takes a little bit longer, so I'm gonna just move it up a little bit more. And there we go. My next project, the 3D printed keychain. Inspiration. Ever since I got keys to my house, I've been always losing it or can't find it. So I wanted to design something that was big and will make it more easier for me to find. I did some research online and found a keychain that I wanted to make similar to, like the one in the image to the right. Then I've started off in the inventor process, which I want to make Mexico big and connected because it's my heritage and I really love my country. So some problems I ran into is making it all connect. I have to add a little connection right here, right there, and right here. Then I also have to connect the dot to the eye, since it's the eye dot for it, it's always off. After that, I extruded it, added a little chamfer so it'd be a little bit neat, and added a little hole for where the keychain will go. Now it's 3D printing. This time, as the tungsten holder, it didn't need a lot of support. It only needed support for the keychain, and that's all. Next is Mr. Mandarino's shed. This is one of my favorite projects I've done so far, and I would love to do again if he has any more projects he wants to do. He wanted someone to improve his screw shed drawings to submit to the city for a permit, and I asked someone from our class to do it, and I volunteered to do it and got to work right away. These are the crude sketches that he gave me. I first started by examining each one and seeing what I'm dealing with, and started to work right away. I started with the north and south view. Halfway into the north view, I came upon a problem where the 2x4s in the wall were supposed to be 16 inches apart from center to center, but for the last ones only fitted 14 inches. By then I figured out I made a little mistake in one of them, and it was a little bit off by 0.5 inches, so I had to readjust it, and it was an easy fix. Once I finished both north and south views, I started on the west and east. Now these were a little bit more difficult since it had an opening and a window. So there was a little problem with the screw joints where I couldn't understand what the measurement was between 13 feet and 15 feet. So I sent a message to ask for clarification, see what measurement to use, nominal or actual size. After getting the clarification that I needed, I finished both views and started working on the dimensions and that's where I got stuck with dimensions. But Mr. West, my teacher, helped me on changing the dimensions from each inches to feet. And once done, I turned this in with Mr. Mandarino, and I was done with this project. My next, second favorite project, the LED lamp project. This one took me weeks to finish since this was a big, big project. Inspiration. My inspiration for this project was that I wanted to create a lamp that would illuminate my room but also be something funny and cool to show. After browsing through many lamps done by many other people in Maker Lab, I found this one which I found very funny and I would like to do this one. So after that, I started some sketches. But I had to sketch a little base where the light will fit in, and then I had to make the sketches for the actual chicken. But for the sketch for the chicken, I did not know how to make it. So I chose a little blocky way instead of a rounded version, like a realistic. Then I started off in the invention process. I first started with the model for the base, which took a little bit. It was a little bit hard finding the thickness of the wall, but after a while I got it from my classmate Gio. Then for the drawing was very stressful since it took me 5 attempts to make the drawing was to correct since I made many little mistakes in each one. Now the invention process for the actual chicken. I first started modeling chicken, but I ran into a few problems. The first problem was the head. I did not know how to make the head at all. I had got some advice from different friends, then I got inspiration to make it a blocky head, and that's where I finally stuck with it. Later on, though, I had to adjust the little top of the chicken since it was too tall. But then I found out that the printer can actually hold the height. The next step is like I said before, coming back to the chicken head. I was difficult to make. I had to readjust it, which was a little bit of a waste of time since I just found out that it actually could have was the height. But then, anyways, I started with the drawings for it, which was very, very hard. The chicken had so many dimensions, you could not believe it. It took me a whole week just to do the drawings for it. But I also had to make an assembly of it, and the drawings for the base. After that, I was ready to 3D print. For the 3D printing part was a little bit unique, since the chicken was hollow for the lights so it can go out. We had to put support, but they kept adding support in the inside, which we didn't want since it would be impossible to take out. So what we decided was to ultimately cut it in half, which was a better solution than other solutions we were thinking of. But in total, it took 14 hours to 3D print both. And that was final product. Now, my current project, the most spirited trophy. Mr. West wanted someone to make a trophy for the most spirited teacher, so I took it upon myself to do it. But also Brian and Adrian, my other classmates, offered to help me with it. So we first started with the researching how we want to design a trophy. Our first idea was to incorporate elements of a teacher and a Steelman logo of our school. Then we got work to sketching and modeling. After completing my research, I made a rough design. I made some drawings and started modeling, but that's where things changed. I was getting second thoughts on different designs and decided to scratch this one right here. My second design was a basic trophy with just Steelman on top. But I also got getting second thoughts on this one because it was a little bit too basic, so I scratched this one also. Now my final and last design was to embed both 3D printed and laser cutting. So I decided to make a trophy with a base that holds up 3 walls. In the middle will be a laser cut acrylic Steelman logo. Next slide shows a rough finish model if you don't know what I'm talking about. This right here is the finished model, rough finish model. So after finishing both the top and bottom of the trophy, I made it and also made the walls. I assembled it all together and changed the colors to our school colors, blue and yellow. But this is where I ran into a few problems with 3D printing. When I 3D printed a prototype of it, it turns out the top and bottom were way too big and the walls didn't fit. So now I had to go back, change the wall width, which I'm where I'm currently at. But I recently finished conducting tests on what widths work best for each wall, since the walls are different material, and I'm ready to laser cut and 3D print now. And that's the end. I want to thank everybody who has helped me with these projects, my teachers that helped me, and my classmates that helped me. And I want to thank you guys for listening to my video, and have a nice day, guys.